Hello, church, and welcome to another edition of Daily Devotionals as we are trying to flatten the curve by distancing from one another, following stay-at-home orders, but being connected virtually, if nothing else, spiritually connected during this time of trial for all of us, and to be community. And so today, I'm sure many of you have had a lot of time to watch the news or check news feeds, or maybe you're trying to take a break from that because it's just too much, right? 24/7 news feed about coronavirus. But in the news feed, I saw this interesting article about Jimmy Bakker and, Tammy Faye, his old ex-wife. You remember Jimmy? He got into trouble soliciting a prostitute and then fraudulent claims with his televangelist ministry many decades ago. Well, Jim Bakker is back in the news today, and unfortunately for Jimmy, it was selling on his online ministry Silver Soul Liquid. What is Silver Soul Liquid? It's like the Eddie Murphy, I think the bad, soul glow kind of thing comes to mind, but it was supposed to be this liquid that cures coronavirus. So you could get it for, $19.99, and they'll throw in the juice weasel for free. I don't know exactly what it was, but the point is there was no medical or scientific basis to it. It was a fraud. It was a scam. And I think about passages in Scripture where people take advantage of a situation of crisis or somebody else's suffering to turn a buck. I'm talking about, I don't know if this happens today. I mean, there's Jim Bakker, but there's also people in Costco buying, a pack of water and then selling it for $50 in the parking lot. Or people taking hand sanitizer or Clorox wipes and selling them for $100. It's price gouging, taking advantage of people in their panic, their fear, and their need, and preying upon it to fill their pockets. One might even say insider trading. And, months in advance, there's a potential for a pandemic, and there's going to be a financial crisis, but you sell off your stocks. Not that I've heard the news of that anywhere, when you should be taking care of your people. So there's two places in Scripture. There's many, but there's two places that come to mind. The first is 2 Kings 5. The prophet Elijah is working with a man named Naaman, who is an enemy, an Aramean, a general. And he has leprosy. He goes to his people and he says, "Who can help me with this disease?" They said, "We've heard of a guy in Israel, this great prophet who has healed people. Why don't you go see him?" So he goes, he makes this great trip, he brings a lot of supplies, and Elisha meets with him and says, "Listen, go wash 7 times in the Jordan River, and then go home, you'll be clean." And the mom gets really upset. What the heck? I traveled all this distance. That guy just tells me to dunk in the river 7 times. I could have done that back in Syria. It's a total waste of time and money. And they said, if the prophet had told you to do some great and dramatic thing, wouldn't you have done it? Why don't you just listen to him, do what he asks? And he does. And he looks and he's healed. There's this miraculous transformation. This God that Elijah must be praying to must be something. He goes back and he says, "I want to give you all this gold, all this silver, all these donkeys and stuff I've brought. Please let me pay you for what you've done to me." And Elijah says, "Absolutely not. Just know that the God of Israel, I didn't do this. The God of Israel did this for you, brought this healing. You can't monetize the power of God." So he says, "Well, let me just take some dirt so I can remember and pray to the God you've introduced me to back in Syria. Because when the king has me bow down to their gods, may you ask God's prayers and pardon for me, because I have to do that. Otherwise, I'll lose my job and place in the army." He says, "Yeah, go, take this dirt so you can pray in private." But Elisha's servant Gehazi has other ideas. He thought, my master let this Aramean off too easy. I'm going to go and tell him, hey, change his mind. Give me some of those clothing, some of that fine clothes, some of that jewelry, some of that money. We could really fill the coffers and get the treasury up. We could meet the church's budget. We could make the flush bottom line. So he goes and says, not so fast. My master had a change of heart. He would like a 50% cut after all. When he comes back, Elijah says, "Where have you been?" "Oh, no place. Just cleaning out the gutters. No, you haven't. You went to go see the mom, haven't you? And you monetized the power of God. You took advantage of somebody else's suffering. At a time when we should be coming together, taking care of each other, the temptation may be to be selfish, to turn inward, to hoard and stock up just for me, myself, and I, and the rest of the world be darned. That's not the way of Christ. The second passage that reminds me of Ananias and Sapphira in Acts chapter 5. Everybody's giving and sacrificing so that the poor and marginalized and vulnerable among them can all have equal opportunity, be fed, have a roof over their heads. So they said, we sold our house. We're going to give all the profits. Except they don't. They just give a portion of it, and they hold the rest back in greed. And Peter asked them, did you really give everything that you profited off this house? Are you really being generous? They said, oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Peter says, why you got to lie? You're claiming God told you to do this. You're claiming God is behind this. And yet you're lying in your greed. You're hiding behind your faith. So at this hour, my brothers and sisters, in an hour of great need for many of our neighbors, for some of your coworkers, maybe for you, it's important to communicate to each other and think of ways that we can help each other. Whether that's in care for one another, somebody can't pick up their medical supplies, somebody who's too aged or disabled to get their groceries at this time, somebody who's lost their job and needs, and you have steady income still. What ways can we embody that generosity and not turn our backs on each other? May the peace of Christ be with you now and always.